right, perfect. So first of all, good morning from Winnipeg. I know in a lot of other places it's early afternoon, early evening, but for me it's the morning, and for everyone that doesn't know, it's still really cold here. So it snowed yesterday, but it's supposed to be warming up. So yeah, we're gonna just jump right into it, even though I feel that most of the stuff that I was gonna cover right now was talked about in a few of the panel discussions, which were just super great to listen to, and the comments and everything that's been talked about so far really leads in nice to what I'm about to talk about, and hopefully we'll get some good discussion going at the end of the day and leads in nicely to everyone else's talks. Let's go into. So first, just a quick little brief about myself. I'm Jason Peters. Like I said, I'm in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. I circled it there on the screen. We're in the middle there. That's actually a map of Canada with all the offices of Associated Engineering that I work for as a senior structural technologist. I have 26 years of experience in the consulting industry, basically mostly always with structural, starting off as a board drafter, moving my way up to AutoCAD, then into Revit, being a CAD manager, a BIM manager. Now they just call me a senior structural technologist. I wish they'd just call me structural technologist and take the senior away, because it just makes me feel old now. And now I just do a little bit of everything. Whatever they need me to do, I jump into production work, BIM management, CAD management, standards, you name it. I have a little hand of it. So today we're going to talk about the rise and fall of silos, bridging the gaps in the AEC industry. Briefly touching on all the major points of, what was used in the previous sessions, and what we learned in their lessons. You just look at the titles from the previous sessions and you see words that include planning, strategy, sharing, missing link, future ready, coordination, workflow. This all flows into really the actions and the words that we need to bridge the gap between silos in the AEC industry and the BIM workflow that we do. We haven't intentionally made these silos, but we need to purposely tear them down. So first of all, I'll do a couple quick definitions just to make sure we're all on the same page. BIM, this one's simple. We've been talking about this for about 20 years now, ever since it's been a whisper. Now it's a lot louder, and now everyone wants to know, we're doing BIM, are we doing it right? Building information modeling is the process that digitally represents the physical and functional characteristics of a building or facility. It's a collaborative approach. That's the really big word, collaborative approach, involving various stakeholders in the architectural, engineering, construction, and operation industry. So let's keep that in mind. Really take away from this, collaborative and various stakeholders. We're going to talk about those in a little bit as well. The next definition is, what is a silo? What is this silo that I talk about? And the really fancy definition that I found on the internet is a system, process, department, etc., that operates in isolation from others. And that in a BIM workflow is definitely not something that we want to take into account. So silos in the AECO industry. These often develop in the early stages of the project where team members such as architects, engineers, contractors, we're all working independently on our respective areas of the project. Each team is responsible for delivering their own aspects of the building. Our outputs might not be the same. Some are doing IFC, some are doing Revit, some are just doing a spreadsheet, and we're trying to put all this information into a single comprehensive model. Often each phase of the life cycle is treated as a separate entity with separate people working on it. While models are created, they don't always interact with each other effectively. And the onset of BIM was a game changer in many ways. Initially, the adoption of BIM helped break down barriers within the design phase itself. Basically, all the front end stuff, architects, structural engineers, mechanical engineers, we were encouraged to collaborate between us and all the other disciplines. However, when the project moves to construction phase and to facilities management and ownership, these early stages begin to break down. BIM models created during the design phase may not align perfectly with construction specifications or the data needed for ongoing operations and maintenance. This disconnect is further enhanced by the increasing number of digital tools and technologies that we're using throughout the design lifecycle and the building lifecycle itself. These tools, they vary in format, functionality, and data required, which complicates the process of sharing information between different teams. Without a concise and effective strategy for data sharing, silos grow stronger, creating a fragmented building lifecycle that lacks continuity. So really, with what we've done with BIM is we've created more silos as we've moved along. Our current silos in a BIM project, here's BIM. We've all seen the great BIM circle. It looks great. We look at the flow and form and how it flows from one to another, but we don't see the gap in between. We always overlook that. We always miss the little line in between analysis, documentation, initial systems, costs, health and safety. Here's BIM. Again, here's our circle. Detailed design, conceptual design, analysis, conceptual, all of it. The big circle is great, but there's always just that one little block in between. There's the real basic one. That was really one of the first ones that I saw and thought, oh, wow, BIM's great. We can now do everything all at once, all at the same time, but we forget there's still that gap in between. And that roadblock in between all of those, that is what causes the silos. The BIM implementation barriers, there's logistics, culture, technology, cost, digital adoption. All of these are barriers that stand in between each silo of the project. And when that happens, the road to a successful project is closed. There's just no way that we are going to make BIM do what we've all signed up for it to do. There's our implementation barriers, but now we take all of them and we take our little BIM circle and we all put it into little silos that are all interconnected by either hosing, wiring, however you want. Okay? Let's take a look at it and kind of look at it like this. You want to have a steak dinner, all right? We're gonna say the steak dinner is your project. We've got an architect. We're gonna call them the front of house staff. They're gonna be the ones that will take your order, make sure you have cutlery, absolutely everything. Welcome you at the door, sit you down, ask you all the questions. Then we're gonna have a contractor who's gonna be the chef and the back of house people, and they're gonna be the ones that are gonna do the majority of the construction. I don't want to say the hard work, but the work. Then we're going to have an owner or facilities manager, whichever one it is. They don't always have to be the same. And to be honest, they're going to be the customer. They're the ones that we always talk about. And like what we talked about just in that last panel was they're the client. They're the ones that at the end of the night, they want their steak dinner, or in this case, they want their building. So if you think about it, they come into the restaurant, they sit down, front of the house staff comes up to them and says, hey, can I take your order? They'll go, okay, well, I would like a steak dinner. Front of house staff has to maybe ask a couple more questions. Do you want some sides with that? Do you want a salad? Do you want soup? How would you like that steak cooked? You can actually get something else over here, which is a little bit more expensive, but it's a little bit better. They take the order. They get it all squared away. They take it to the back. But if they don't ask all the right questions, they're not going to get the order correct. There is the first silo. Now they've gone to the back. They go to the chef. Here's the order. It's not even right now, may not be the right order to what the client wants. Chef makes the dinner, looks at it, doesn't see that, it doesn't say how the steak's done. I'm just going to make it medium rare. That's what most people want. They see that they want French fries. Okay, there we go. We got some French fries, but some people like them crispy, some people like them soggy. Now, the front of the house staff comes back in, picks up the order, takes it back up to the client. Customer looks at it. Well, this isn't what I ordered. I wanted a steak, I wanted a Caesar salad, and I wanted soup. So as you can see, if in each phase, if people are not asking the right questions and their communication between each phase isn't correct, we've created that silo. So the key to overcoming these barriers lies in early stage collaboration and planning. Breaking down silos should begin as early as the planning and kickoff meeting that we've heard earlier before. A well-defined BIM execution plan is an essential to set clear expectations and ensure that all teams are aligned from the start. The BEP should outline the data, exchange protocols, establish software interrelation, that's a big word, I always have trouble with that one, standards, and define roles and responsibilities for each team member throughout the life cycle of the project. This is where then, day one, you've set out the rules. Everyone knows what they're supposed to be doing. Everyone knows how they're going to communicate. Are we going to use whichever piece of software? How do we exchange information? Are we all going to be on the same page? Because effective communication is crucial, and this includes not only internal project teams, but also the owner and the facility management teams of the future building in the project. You need, as designers and contractors, to ask the right questions early, such as how data will be used post-construction and what specific information will be needed for operations. This can prevent misunderstandings later on and ensure that data requirements are clearly defined from the outset. As we spoke about, and someone gave a really good comment in the chat in the previous group panel, was we don't go to the doctor and have him not do what we need him to do. We as the client, as a patient, go into the doctor and we assume that they will be able to help us. But we also need to say, I am sick, I have a stuffed up nose, I can't stop coughing. To be able to get the right sort of treatment, we also need to give the right information and be asked the right questions from the doctor, which is the exact same as in BIM. We, as designers and the construction team and the owners, need to ask the correct questions of each other and just not assume that this is something they're going to want. It's crucial to integrate stakeholders from all phases of the building life cycle during the early planning stages to promote shared goals and reduce the risk of disconnected workflows. Communication is the cornerstone of BIM success. The importance of maintaining open lines of communication cannot be overstated. This communication must not only happen in the early stages of the project, but should continue throughout the design, construction, and operational phases. And a really good example is back in the early days, I'm going to go back to like Revit in like 2008. I was working on a project. We were exchanging models, and one of the junior modelers on the structural side kept noticing that his column every week would always say, hey, my column is in this window on the architectural model. This column is in the window on this architectural model. Unbeknownst to anyone, he never communicated that to anyone. And on the architectural side, the exact same, but reverse was going on. Hey, where my window is, the structural guy keeps having a column. And this went on throughout the whole project, even through shop drawing review, final coordination. We go out on site one day, they've got a wall and a frame with a column in the middle of it. This is why it's important that everyone on the team needs to know we need to communicate. Regular meetings between designers, contractors, and facility managers can ensure that issues are flagged early, data is shared efficiently, and that the project progresses smoothly through each phase. To facilitate this, project teams should utilize collaborative platforms that allow for easy sharing and updating of information. Cloud-based platforms in particular can support real-time updates ensuring that everyone is working with the most current data available. In addition, using standardized data formats across different phases of the project can help mitigate compatibility issues and enhance the workflow of information. In conclusion, we need to bridge the gaps in the silos that we have created ourselves with not communicating with other disciplines, with contractors, with the owners. We cannot go on the design side and say, I am not going to provide a model to the contractor because it is my model, or the contractor cannot expect an LOD 400 model from a structural consultant who does not detail the steel. While silos within the AEC industry are a challenge, they are not insurmountable. By fostering collaboration early in the project, planning stage, creating detailed BIM execution plans, and prioritizing continuous communication across all phases of the building lifecycle, we can ensure a more seamless transition between design, construction, facilities management. Technology will continue to evolve, but with the right approach to data sharing and model integration, these barriers can be reduced, resulting in a more efficient and effective building process that benefits all stakeholders involved. I'm a little quick on my time. If anyone has any questions, I will be in the speakers room, or you can contact me by my email below, or you can go and look me up on my works email.